Fauci, lied before Congress and it was in fact funding gain-of-function research. I mean, Fauci himself has publicly argued for years in favor of gain-of-function research. He actually said in 1819, there might be a lab leak. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not mischaracterizing. There might be a lab leak, but the cost is worth it. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, how do you know that? How do you know that? And then suddenly he's scrambling to silence Jay Bhattacharya. And as you sort of peel back the onion, and this is the point of this series, it's I don't know what the end of the story is yet. I know that this was not a public health operation. This was essentially a military operation, and which explains sort of all the things I was talking about earlier, like lockdowns and the very authoritarian responses. That's not typical public health stuff.
Yeah, this was all fundamentally a kind of martial law action.
Mm-hmm.
We fell into martial law in 2020.
And it was shifted, responsibility within the Biden administration, maybe going back to the Trump administration, responsibility was shifted to DOD, Homeland Security, FBI, probably the CIA, but they never used their own name when they're in these emails. And you could look at the reason who's involved is because of Elon Musk and the Twitter files. So we don't know everything about who signed off on gain-of-function research. We don't know actually who Fauci's boss is. We have some theories, but we don't know. But if you want to look at a good place to dig, look at all of those agencies that were browbeating tech companies into silencing not just Jay Bhattacharya, but any epidemiologist that was saying, this looks like a lab leak. Lockdowns are not good, and they've never been good, and the entire public health literature says don't do that. And you had at a very granular level these alphabet agencies in the military industrial, I'll just call it the military industrial complex, saying, to Facebook, to Google, to Twitter, this guy, like it's just a guy, right? It's not just Jay Bhattacharya, but this guy just said something. He's got 15 followers. Shut that down. Like it's so wildly ham-fisted that I think that in itself is kind of a smoking gun. As it turns out, a guy named Dr. Richard Ebright, based at Rutgers, in a very lonely fight, has been blowing the whistle on the militarization of gain-of-function research going all the way back to 2001. And this is not the first lab leak. This is not the first gain-of-function accident. And they've been doing this stuff, and he's been trying to get people to pay attention to this because, they're, weaponize Ebola.
That is the thing.
And they are, like, this is happening. So this is...
Ebola's fatality rate, that is the nightmare scenario.
Right.
Smallpox, Ebola, there's viruses that go after children. We were kind of lucky in the sense that this disaster had the profile it had of basically being a bad flu that could be very fatal for people that were immune compromised or older, which is horrible. But so is influenza. It was an influenza on steroids. It's a coronavirus. But imagine something else.
Yeah.
You don't want to imagine. It's like World War Z stuff.
Right. I'm with Dr. Ebright. I'm like, we should ban it. It's not. Ebright says that there is no medical benefit to manipulating viruses this way. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know that government agents and bureaucrats with perverse incentives and sort of a fatal conceit and arrogance that they can do things that they can't do, I know that they are potential of making a catastrophic mistake. So we should just say no. And I don't think that, it seems like, if I ask somebody like, do you trust a bunch of faceless bureaucrats to not make a mistake? And if they do make a mistake, we're all dead?
There is something inside of bureaucracy that is the cover your ass nature of bureaucracy gives rise to some really heinous stuff, because when you don't have the marketplace in which survival is success, and if you do stupid things or you hurt people too, even accidentally, you go out of business. Like, if you're not protected and you have a product that ends up killing a bunch of people, you will be put out of business. But agencies kill people all the time, and they don't get put out of business because they can't be. And so how do we keep them in check? It's just bureaucracy. And that gives rise to things that can be... one example of where I think things have gotten unfortunate is that prior to the pandemic, I think it was absolutely the case that the Food and Drug Administration was causing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Americans to die by restricting their access to medicines that were already approved in other countries, like in Europe.
Yeah.
Or maybe have risks, but the risks are worth it because you're going to die.
Yeah.
And it was broadly understood that, like, reforming the FDA actually would result in us getting more medicines faster, and that free marketeers and right of center people were for that. And Trump passed this right to try legislation. Right. That's part of that movement. And now this is one of the many things that has been unleashed by the pandemic and the catastrophic policy. It's hard to make that argument anywhere now.
Right.
Because people are like, no, the fact that the vaccines came out quickly in and of itself isn't necessarily bad. But it's like, no, it's supposed to take 2 decades to create a vaccine. Right. It's like, no, it actually isn't.
Right.
That wasn't a feature of the pre-COVID time. That was a bug too. And I don't even know how to make you can't make those arguments anymore. There's a lot of ways in which, and I think this is Jordan Peterson has talked about this research into authoritarianism that was done in the aftermath of World War II. And I don't know, I haven't looked at it carefully. I don't know, what does it mean to have an authoritarian mindset? Was their model of that correct? But what that work, as I understand it, did is it used these surveys with some sort of profile of what it means to be an authoritarian. And it found a high correlation between authoritarian mindset and being in a region that was exposed to infectious disease. And that makes sense, because when we are threatened in life or limb, our fight or flight systems kick in, our thinking fast system kicks in, and we become willing to accept crazy stuff, like the government telling me to put a mask on my 3-year-old, or stay in my house and wash my groceries like an imbecile. And we become like, you better put your mask on your 3-year-old or I'm going to call the cops. We become like monsters.
Yeah. Or I'm going to demand that they deny you healthcare because you didn't do the thing.
Yeah. So Noam Chomsky, so-called anarchist, becomes, yes, we should starve people to death.
Yeah.
We should forbid them from getting work and let them die if they don't want to accept a vaccine that the logic of which also is inconceivable. It's like, okay, wait, let me get this straight. So you're saying the vaccine works perfectly. You got the shot, right? So if I don't get the shot, I'm no risk to you because you got the shot. So why do I need to get it if I don't feel comfortable getting it? Because you got it, so you're fine. Why don't you just leave me alone? Like how did that not? That didn't penetrate a majority of people's minds.
It's a non-religious religious fervor, and I went back. I always got to bring this back to Hayek. I went back and reread The Counter-Revolution of Science. I don't know if you've ever slogged through that book.
I have not, so I'm excited to hear what comes next.
I remembered it. Like I struggled through it when I was younger, and it mystified me a little bit. But it's him building out his critique of scientism as he's struggling to explain to socialists why they don't know nearly enough to do the things that they say they want to do. And he particularly, basically takes a knife to this French aristocrat, Saint-Simon. And at the time, it just felt so un-Hayek, because Hayek's using sort of Twitter appropriate language for this guy's an idiot, basically, is what he says. And when I went to reread it, I'm like, okay, I get what's going on here. Because Saint-Simon was this French aristocrat. He's considered the father of socialism, even though one of his students actually coined the term. And this is before Marx made socialism an explicitly violent sort of class struggle thing. So Saint-Simon is this scientistic technocrat. He has a fetish for the sciences. And he imagines replacing markets and freedom and all that chaos with he calls it a Council of Newton. He's going to build a temple to Sir Isaac Newton, and he's going to seat a panel in that temple of the smartest people, engineers, scientists.
Yes.
Does this sound familiar at all? So the idea was we just need smart people to reorganize things, and we can trust them because they're so much smarter than we are. And that's what they did. And I think we're still in that situation where, we're slaves to the science, and we have to trust the experts. And the experts are the people at the right universities. The experts are the people that the government appoint to tell us how to live our lives. The enemy today is not socialism. The enemy today is this technocratic, scientistic fascism.
If you like this clip, we've got so much more where that came from. So be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss our new videos as they come out each week.